come on close and get nice and cozy. Welcome back to the 2017 Canadian Outdoor Singles Championships. I'm Jake Shuknik, and I'm joined by Bob Strong. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks.
Our feature rink here, we have John Bjornson, the local Manitoban, against Terry O'Neill from Nova Scotia.
I think John has won this competition 2 of the last 3 years.
You could be right on that. I know 2 years ago when it was here, he won it then.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been the year before that. He might have won too. I'm not really sure.
He's represented Canada 2 champion of champions in Australia.
John's, of course, the co-chair of the host organizing committee, so big thanks to him and Phil Clark and all the other organizers and volunteers for making this event a go. I know it's been a lot of work. I've been bombarding John with emails for the past 2 weeks, so he's probably sick of me by now, but now that the event's here, I'm sure he's happy to be playing. And of course, John has the red bowls and Terry has the black bowls. It looks like John's figured things out here to start off. He's got it surrounded.
John's probably one of the newer bowlers among the older folk that are here. He's only been bowling for 6 or 7 years.
Really? I did not know that. Oh, there's a beautiful bowl there from Terry.
Certainly is. Terry's a veteran of nationals.
Yeah, he's been to this event many times, and he's been to other major events as well. He was at the majors in Victoria there 2 weeks ago, as was John. I think Terry played pairs, and John was playing triples. Beauty shot there from John.
I don't think playoff pressure is going to get to either of these guys.
No, I wouldn't think so.
No.
They're both very experienced. John is tough to beat on this rink, though. This is his favorite.
Well, this is his home club.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might actually prefer to play on the artificial green next door.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. But I do know that this rink 1 and 2 are really, really good greens. Big thanks to all the umpires as well. As Elaine had a quick comment for you on our way by. There's quite a few of them around here today, with Emily's over to my right, and I saw Ed Mulholland floating around here too.
Well, Elaine's no rookie to these things. I think she's been to the majors, I would venture 25 times.
Probably in the ballpark of that.
And she's only missed the playoffs, the majors, I should say, 1 or 2 years in all of her bowling career.
That does not surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
So Terry was playing a little bit of weight there. I think he was looking to come inside off his, would have been my guess, and he was well outside. So that'll be 1 for the Viking, Mr. Bjornson.
We're not going to call him Sven, though. Oh, John's a real student of the game.
Mm-hmm.
He practices tirelessly, so when he's successful, it's not a fluke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I heard from Harriet Petulli when I was at the majors a couple weeks ago that when John and her went to the Champion of Champions last year, that John practiced relentlessly down in Australia for 7-8 hours a day, which is just a lot of dedication, especially in the heat down there. That's no small task.
Well, and he says every time he gets there, he learns something new, because the level of competition is considerably higher than what you get domestically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does not surprise me. When you're playing against the best that each country has to offer, it's going to be top-notch bowling.
Boy, this green certainly seems to be playing very nicely.
That's a great shot there from Terry.
Yeah. I'm not sure that he gained shot bull out of that, though.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, now he has shot.
Yeah, that'll be one for Terry now. John just got on the wrong side of that. See if Terry can add another. I think he might be getting some position with that as he's inside. Not quite heavy enough to really be a good position bull. Is it always this windy in Winnipeg?
Rarely. Even though some jokers call it windy peg.
Mm-hmm. Are you a singles fan yourself, or would you rather play a team game?
I prefer pairs, if the truth be known, but I've been to the Nationals at singles, pairs, and now fours and mixed pairs, and pairs is my favorite game.
Oh, yeah. Clearly, I would assume most of the people here are big fans of singles, or else they wouldn't be here competing today, but...
Well, it's a lonely game.
It can be. It can be.
And in any other game, you can be slightly off your game and other people will pick you up. In singles, you're out there on your own.
Mm-hmm. It's the one game where there is an I in team.
Yeah.
Big shot here for
Terry's
Terry.
trying to draw for two.
If he's inside the red, he could be close.
No.
Just coming up short.
John also doubles as the greens chair at this club.
Mm-hmm.
So he's partially responsible for the excellent condition of the green.
Yep, yeah, I know he's spent a lot of time making them run really well.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was kind of interesting, actually. You see the red flags on the side. There's the hog marker, the hog line, but on the building, he actually painted a red stripe as well, so you can go further back and you can look and see where it is on the building as well. That's
I had noticed that.
I think that's pretty unique. I would definitely have not seen any other club do that where they paint it on the building.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just one for Terry there to
One
tie
for-
things up at one.
Right. This is probably the largest and most successful bowls club in Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
It perennially has the most members and also produces by far the highest number of competitive bowlers.
Mm-hmm. Do you know how many members there are here? Off the top of
Here?
your head? Yeah.
I would think probably high 80s.
Okay. Yeah. Pretty good number.
Excellent for one of the provinces with among the fewest
Mm-hmm.
bowlers all told. That would be over 20% of all our bowlers at one club.
Interesting. When you put it into percentages like that, that's a interesting number. Not sure what news outlet we got here, but this rink is going to be doubly televised.
Oh, okay.
Based off a cameraman here to my right.
Phil?
John just grabbed the jack there.
Mm-hmm.
That's CTV. Gotcha.
I think he's still blocking our camera, isn't he?
No, no, he's fine. Terry's looking to draw around, but I think he's a little wide and quick. And yet just into the ditch. Not sure who the fellow is, but after each round, someone comes around with a nice little rake to make the sand nice and clean looking. John is following Terry into the ditch as well.
One positive thing about this venue is that the end of the green doesn't fall off. We played in Victoria, and on quite a number of the greens you couldn't stop in the last 6 feet of the green.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing to do as a greenskeeper, to try to keep it level, because it's tough to add enough sand and grass at the end to really keep it flat. It's no small task being a greenskeeper. It's a lot of hard work.
Absolutely.
So once more, the scoreboards are parallel to where I'm sitting. This happened to me at the majors too, where couldn't really see too many scoreboards. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to give too many updates on scores. I can probably see the one next door to us, but that's not much further than that. Of course, next door is Bob Van Willingham against Brandon Watson. And I believe Brandon won his first game and Bob lost his first game, I think. This is the second game for everybody out here right now.
Brandon is leading by 2-1, and he's lying shot bowl. Bowling his last.
Terry's also playing his last bowl here, and he is wide and just too quick again. That's in the ditch. So John has some options here. He can either try to draw a second, or he could maybe bring in his short bowl or try to push Terry out. I think the easiest shot's probably just to draw in for 2.
Yeah, a play on to Terry's bowl at this stage wouldn't be the best thing he could try. He'll come up
just
2 feet light.
Yeah, so just the one there for the Manitoban. So that makes it 2-1 after 3. Could be a tight game of ones.
You want I should give you updates on the other games?
If you want, yeah. Gonna send Bob around to give us a few updates on the scoreboards if he can see down far enough, which might be easier said than done. (3-1) for Brandon over Bob Van Willingham. So I guess Brandon picked up another there. 2-1 for John McDonald over Robbie Law. Can't quite see the score there for Everett and Michael Leon. Well, big thanks to Terry there, who's been giving us updates here. Three, 0. I think Terry beat you to it for giving all the updates. He was.
It's pretty tough to pick up all those scores.
So John's first bowl was a fair bit past the jack there. We'll see if Terry can capitalize on some wiggle room to draw. Terry's come up a bit short. Playing into the wind here might have a bit of an effect too, as the clubhouse is blocking some of it, but...
Well, it's not a direct headwind, tailwind situation, which is the worst to play in. It's... John
just crashed into Terry there to push him in for a definitive one. But yeah, no, it's blowing from left to right here, so that might have some cause and effect on the bias and how much it'll bend or not bend.
Mm-hmm.
Very smooth delivery. Not too many bouncers or wobblers here today that I've seen.
You saw one, did you?
No, I'm just saying I haven't seen many at all. Everybody's got a pretty smooth delivery here, which is good to see.
At this level, you're not likely to see it, although I think there are some people who entered this competition hoping to be competitive. I know we've certainly seen that in the past. People who are only second-year bowlers and not very competitive, they do it for the experience. So.
Mm-hmm. Were you at the meet and greet social last night?
No.
No. John pulled out a couple sets of Belgian bowls, which are basically, they look pretty much like a cheese wheel, and they're pretty heavy. And out on the artificial, we had to draw to within the small ring was worth 15 points, the medium ring was worth 10, and the big ring was worth 5. But man, did those things ever curl. You would aim at rink 1 and it would come back over under rink 8 and come back towards you as well. It was quite the thing to see. If you've never seen it, I'd suggest looking it up online. Go look at Belgian bowling, I think it's called.
Yeah, Belgian bowls. There is a Belgian club in Manitoba, and they play Belgian bowls.
Oh, okay.
And they've actually produced a number of very competitive lawn bowlers.
Well, similar skill set, you know. You still have to get down and roll it. So Terry's tied things up here at 2. Another singular.
It may just go that way all afternoon.
I wouldn't be surprised. These are two very tough competitors.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the 4th end, so there's 5 ends left in this set.
The introduction of sets play in singles is relatively new. It's only been around for maybe 3 or 4 years. It used to be a race to 25 points, and then it was a race to 21, and unfortunately a lot of the games got away early and they lost their excitement.
So are you a fan of playing to points rather than sets then?
I wouldn't say that. In fact, one of the best singles matches I've ever seen was Alfie Wallace from Alberta playing against Keith Roney from Saskatchewan, playing to 25 points.
Yeah.
I think they played 47 ends.
That sounds about right, yeah. That's a long game.
There were no time limits.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful bowl there from Terry.
Sure is. In that match between Alfie and Keith, I don't think there was a bowl 2 feet from the jack in 47 ends.
Really?
Everything inside of 2 feet.
Oh, okay. Everything within 2 feet. Gotcha. Oh, John. Just grabbing it on his way through.
Mm-hmm. Keith, of course, is a perennial competitor at the national level, and he's been a long-standing member of the national team. And this was the first major I've ever been at, this year's major, where he was there as a team manager. He did not win a provincial championship.
Yeah, he's been around the game for quite some time and played internationally several times. Beautiful ball there from Terry.
Yep. John missed wide, but it could very well have been a gusty wind, which was blowing away from the jack, and would have caused him to, he would have had to narrow his line. But when it's gusty, you can't predict what it's going to do on your particular bowl.
Yeah, it's very tough to play with wind being such a big factor, as the gusts here are very gusty.
Well, people at this club are used to bowling in the wind. When we had an old artificial rink which was far swingier on the artificial, there used to be a windsock on top of the clubhouse, and people would judge the wind based on the windsock, and it was something to behold. If you can imagine, I've never seen swing on any rink in Canada that was like our old artificial. It used to be you played all the way across the next rink and 4 or 5 feet onto the rink after that. So you were allowing like 24 feet of swing.
That's quite a bit.
That's an awful lot of draw.
John is just wide again.
Yeah, I think he's down 3. 2 for sure.
2 for sure, yeah. Terry's using his fingers there to try to see.
Terry played an outstanding end.
John's using his fingers as well. For Mr. O'Neill. So we finally...
3.
Oh, 3?
He's signaled 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that finally got us off of the 1-1-1-1-1.
But when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
That's what they say. That makes it 5-2 after 5. All tied up at 3 next door between Brandon Watson and Bob Van Willingham.
Are the draws set up by group? In other words, would all these men's games be from the same?
So there's 32 men and they're split up into 4 pools of 8. So then they'll play everybody in their pool, and then anybody with a win percentage of 50% or higher moves on to the knockout rounds. Which is incredibly difficult to organize because you have no idea how many people are going to be moving on and who won't be.
Probably a little different in this competition because there aren't as many familiar faces, but when you get to the nationals, about 75%, I would say, on average, are returning players.
For the most part, once you have gone a couple times, you start to really recognize people at the majors, that's for sure.
Yep. It's hard to be sure, but it looks like John Bjornson is lying 1.
Yeah, it's tough to tell from this far away. I'd say Terry's probably pretty close. Not with that bull, but with an earlier bull.
Well, John's bull is level with the jack, and Terry's is short, so that makes me think that John is lying shot.
Just missed it on his way through. Now that Terry's had a good look, he'll come down and see if he can. So it's 1 for Terry right now in the head.
That's what he says.
And Terry's drawn a beautiful bull there. That's probably shot itself.
Yep.
I'm surprised that John is still playing that hand. I probably would have switched hands there myself. Just inside and pushed himself out. So that's probably 2 for Terry there now.
Very good chance of it. And John would only have 3 ends to catch up.
That's right, yeah. Looked like he only put up the signal for 1, but...
Well, you couldn't tell because it was pointing away from you. You couldn't tell whether it was 1 or 2.
See what the marker does here.
It was 2.
It was 2. All right.
5-point lead with 3 to play.
One thing that's really tough as a organizer is to clear your head so that you can play. I know from watching other people who are organizing at the majors, it was Davey and Annie Matthew, that it's not easy to be running an event and playing in it at the same time, because if there's anything that goes wrong or any little issue that comes up, then that's still in the back of your mind, something you need to deal with as soon as you step off the green. Or it's no easy task to clear your head and to really be able to bowl.
Well, I think that was evident in Victoria, because David Matthew is a better bowler than what his record indicated. I think he went winless in the first 6 rounds, and end after end after end he made saving shots, but it just wasn't enough.
That was a beautiful bowl there from John.
Can't they just play a single 9-end set
What do you mean?
for this draw?
So they play 2 9-end sets.
That's what I thought. I was wondering why Robbie was off the rink.
Probably a bathroom break would be my guess, but yeah, 2 9-end sets, and then if you tie them, then they'll play a 3-end tiebreaker if needed. I should probably be careful about my wording. If you split the sets, so if you each win a set, it can be really interesting if you tie the first set and then win the second, then you still win. So you need to make sure you at least win one set in order to force the tiebreak.
I think it is a great equalizer, sets play.
I've heard many people tell me that for the most part in points play, it's usually the better player that wins, whereas sets play, it's not necessarily the case. It could be just who gets hot for 9 or 10 ends in a row. It's a different mentality to play sets over points, that's for sure. Terry just opened things up a little bit there, as John's still lying 2. I think the first time I ever played sets was 7 years ago at the under 25s, and I was watching a game between Mike Petulli and Steve Miller, and Mike won the first set something like 24-0, and then lost the next set 7-6 and lost the tiebreak 2-1. So the final score would have been something like 33-8.
Right.
But because of sets play, he lost the game.
Well, nobody said life is fair.
Nope, that's not something that anyone's ever claimed. So Terry's throwing weight into this. Interesting. I guess he does have the backest bowl, but really depends if he makes contact on a bull or if he's going for the jack. I'm not sure.
He might be looking for the kill too, and I'm not sure what's the procedure on a jack out of bounds.
Yeah, they play with the respot, so at the 2 meter mark, just the one respot in the middle. I'd be hesitant to do that though, because if you're playing with that much weight, chances are you're going to be pushing John back, and so you might still give up 1 or 2 anyway. So I guess that's better than his current situation, but and he got it. And that worked out pretty well for him. I think he's
sure did.
Line 1 for sure, maybe 2. If that bull's still in play, and I think it is. So yeah, that's a really good strike there from Terry. He's line 2.
Yeah, swing of 4 shots there. Went from 2 down to 2 up.
So now John just has to draw within about 6 feet to take 1 with his last bull.
Which isn't hard to do in practice, but a little bit more difficult facing this situation. Did they happen to tell you what the time is on the screen?
Yeah, this morning John timed it out, and he said it was around 12 or 13 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark.
It certainly looks to be running in the 12 to 14 seconds.
That's a good shot there from John to steal 1.
Yep.
He used the little ramp that MVP Sports created. It's the SRPM or something like that, which you release the lever and the jack rolls out, and however far it goes gives you an idea for what the pace is. It's not directly related to seconds, so it's, if it goes 12 inches, that's probably a pretty slow green. But if it goes 24 inches, that's a much
Oh,
quicker green.
it's
So
a mini ramp.
yeah, it's a
Okay.
real small ramp there that you let the jack roll down. And I think that's a brilliant invention because it takes the guesswork out of it. It's much more predictable as opposed to getting someone to try to roll a bowl 90 feet, because chances are you might roll 92 or 89 or whatnot.
Well, I think in some instances they actually roll a bull from a ramp, and they can raise or lower the ramp until they adjust it to the right length and very easily calculate the time.
I know that they use the ramp for testing bowls and recertifying them, so when you get your bowls stamped, they use the ramp. What they might not tell you, though, is that they also polish your bowls and buff them up to look real nice. I know one player from Ontario went and got his bowls retested, and they polished them up and gave them back to him looking brand new, and he wasn't too pleased with that because he kind of liked having all the scuffs and scrapes and gave it some character, but not anymore.
The patina added to the luster of the bowls.
So John's looking to find Terry, and he did, but not quite enough.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he moved it far enough.
See if Terry can just put it back. Looks a little inside to me. And John's switching hands here now. I think he's looking to maybe trail the jack back if he gets it. And if he's wide, he can rest on Terry as well. And just coming up short.
Yeah, I think he wishes he gave that about 4 feet more.
At least. And Terry's also coming up a bit short. Monkey see, monkey do. It's a measure, but he's favoring John.
John used to be an ardent golfer. That was his favorite sport when he discovered bowls. He says he's not sure that he's gone golfing since.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd never met John before 2 years ago when it was last hosted here, and had the pleasure of meeting him then, and just a fantastic gentleman.
He is that.
I probably had some other choice words for him after he beat me in the semifinals, but nah, he's a great guy and putting on a great show here.
Well, you don't win 2 national titles by accident. One of the losses on the scene is a perennial competitor and several times winner is Hiran Bartu from BC. Speaking to him at the Nationals this year, he said his work didn't permit him to bowl competitively.
Yeah, that tends to be the case for many people, is that work tends to get in the way of the fun stuff.
Terry's bull won't come back.
No, I think he might have been trying to play underneath and grab the jack on his way through, but he got way out there. So that'll be at least one for John, possibly more. Not sure how many more.
2 to John.
Clawing his way back into this, making it 7-5 with one end to go.
One end to play. Using another sports cliche, it's never over till it's over.
That's right. Big thanks to our sponsors and partners, the Government of Canada through Sport Canada, the Coaching Association of Canada, Kukri, our official clothing supplier, and lawnbowlingmanager.com. Head on over to lawnbowlingmanager.com for a free demo of your one-stop shop for a club management resource. It can be your website, your club database, mailing list. It does it all.
This green seems to be running as nicely as you could possibly expect natural grass to run.
Coming up a little bit short there. I think John's asking who shot, and I would have to favor John there. John's also pulling up short. Got scared.
That's almost certainly...
Yeah, that is the shot.
Right.
John's up the weight on this. That'll be second shot, maybe.
That changed some things around, though, in the event that John can move Terry's bull, he could be lying 3.
That also might be trickier for Terry to get through. And yeah, he's coming up narrow here.
John needs a 2 to tie and 3 to win.
Yeah, it is tricky to be playing with the gusts of wind here.
Looking at the flags at the end, it's clear that it is a fairly strong wind. I don't know what the speed is, but it is a real factor.
John's having a real long thought about this. He's standing down at the other rink, not entirely sure.
I think he's looking at the possibility of trying to move Terry's shot bowl.
He just asked who shot, so, or like if it was the one to the side that was shot, so I think he's probably thinking about that.
Because I think it's hard for him to score 2 without touching Terry's shot bowl.
Could maybe trail the jack. Could.
True.
That's a tricky shot to play, though. Yeah, I think he's playing some white here. Well, he got the jack in the ditch.
He got the jack in the ditch. Now the question is
Terry's bowl second, or is John's off to the side there second?
I think John's bowl, side bowl, wing bowl is second shot.
So that would at best tie the set, but Terry still has a shot here to draw to cut him down to 1. He doesn't have to be overly close either. Within 6 or 8 feet would do it. Could also work on his short bowl there too, give that a roll. I think Terry might be a little short.
I think he is.
Coming up well short.
Maybe looking at a measure for 2.
I wonder if Terry was confident before he threw that he had second shot, or if he just came up short. So just the 1.
John says he only scored 1. I guess he needed to trail the jack this way, not the other way. He caught half the jack, but it went away from his earlier best bowl.
That's right.
Well, that was so much fun, they'll do it again.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Terry has the mat up maybe 5-6 feet from the tee. It's one thing that I like to see is people playing around with the mat length. I get tired of playing with it always at the tee. I like to see it moved up a little bit or a lot or just something different.
I was noting that nobody seemed to like here today to play a short jack, which sometimes people favor on a fast rink.
I found that quite interesting when I was at the major streaming. I was commentating with Ivo. He's here playing today. And he was telling me that out in BC, for the most part, a lot of players like to play a 3/4 length jack to a full length jack a lot, whereas I found that when I play in Ontario, they tend to play maybe a 1/3 to a half. So it's just different provinces tend to favor different lengths, which I thought was interesting. I myself, I really like short ends. I'm not a huge fan of playing tee to tee, but you're right. Today, a lot of people have been playing longer jacks rather than shorter jacks. I haven't seen anybody really just playing it just to the hog line or.
The shortest one I've seen was 3/4. John's laid a couple in there. Well, Bobby V
He's up
picked up
6-5.
1, so he's 6-6 after. Oh, 7-6.
Yeah, so Bob Van Willingham up 1 over Brandon Watson.
But that must have been the 9th end.
Yep.
So it
Yes,
looked
it
like.
was. So Bobby picked up the win in that first set then. It's interesting that every game that we've streamed here so far today on this TV rink, whether it's 8 going the other way or 1 going this way, the players tend to be really, really fast on this TV rink. Looking around at some of the other scores, a lot of the players are slower, but usually one of the first couple rinks done is playing on the end rinks here.
Not sure if there's any cause and effect there, though, because there just simply are bowlers who bowl really quickly, and others that take
their time.
Well, sometimes inordinately long time. That's why in the majors, they've put time limits, because there were a number of teams that were always flirting with the maximum time allowed.
That's sort of a pet peeve of mine is playing against so many slow players in Canada. When you play down in Australia or many other countries, time limits are just there for fun. You hardly ever reach them because everybody's so fast at playing. They've kicked the bowls in, they've brought the mat up before you even get down to the other end. Like everything's just bang, bang, bang. That's how I like to play. Is there's no point wasting time. My biggest pet peeve is probably when people hum and haw about whether to measure or not, and they point and they stare. If I have any doubts whatsoever, I just get down and measure right away, rather than humming and hawing about it.
I don't think there's much question here that Terry's 2 down.
No, not much. Oh, it's a pretty good bowl there. John's asking, is that shot? Marker's taking a good look at it. It's a measure. Can't tell. John's last bowl coming down here now. And just chipped the jack back.
Oh, he did. He tapped the jack back to his back bowl. His receiver.
Got a few there now.
That could give him a count of 2. They're actually looking at it for 4. 3, I should say.
3, yeah. The one bowl way at the back of John's there, the marker sort of tripped over.
It looks like the bowl at 7 o'clock is further away than it appears from here.
So that's 3 for Johnny. It's a good start to the second set.
That was the difference in the last game, was Terry's triple.
Now, even though I don't think there's a time limit here today, but when making the draw, they sort of guessed that 2.5 hours is probably more than sufficient. We started this morning at 9, and most of the games were done by 11 or so roughly 2 hours to play 2 9-end sets and potentially a 3-end tiebreaker if necessary.
Well, and because no team plays 2 draws in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about giving them time to eat before they play their second game, things like that.
Yep. That's probably a little easier for the people in the kitchen as well, because then you don't have everybody all at once. You have half and then half, so that just means longer time overall, though. So Terry's coming down playing almost the same weight as John did. Pretty close.
John has changed his hand, and that's very unusual. If it's not forced on you, that you wouldn't normally.
Mm-hmm.
And they've played everything backhand coming this way.
It's pretty good practice to get it into, is when you're playing singles, to pick a hand and master it. I know that's what they teach a lot of leads, is that you should always play the same hand and really get to know it, because you can always draw inside or outside of it, or up the weight, or something. You don't really need to switch hands very often, if ever. This could be number 1.
Nope.
Nope, too far. They're both asking who shot, and yeah, it's Terry's bowl. Looks like they're getting ready in case someone kills it, though. They're all sort of hovering back around that tee.
That's the loosest head we've seen in this game.
And it's really just the weight. I guess there are a couple bulls that aren't really back to the center line, but bring all those bulls up about 6 feet and it's a much better looking head. Until Terry dropped a really short one there now. Maybe the pressure's getting to them being on the TV rink.
Nope, same way. Free draw for 2 for Terry.
Just needs to get his draw weight down, though. Aside from that 1, this is a very sporadic head. It's probably a good idea to come down and take a look, so you can see just how far away you are. So a very wide open draw here for Terry.
Out of hand, it looks pretty darn good.
Yeah, that should be good enough for 2, I would think.
Yep.
Great weight, just didn't come back to the center line at all, but should be good for 2. And yeah, that'll be 2, so that'll make it 3-2 then. Just when you think that someone might be pulling away, then the other comes back and keeps it close.
Yeah, when you score a 3-on-1, you really would like to hold your opponent to 1 on the next end.
Mm-hmm.
It's a encouraging sign for the team that's trailing.
Mm-hmm. So Terry's playing a much shorter jack here than what they've played before, as the mat's up a fair pace and threw the jack much shorter. Had pretty good weight on his first.
It's certainly the shortest jack we've seen.
I'm wondering if it's because the last end there he saw that all of John's bowls were well past. So he's thinking, you know, John's playing a little heavier, so maybe I should play a bit shorter. Look at Terry's foot there on the mat. He's just barely covering the corner.
Boy, did he just cover a piece of the corner, yeah.
With that new rule of only a piece of your foot has to be touching the mat, well, there's a lot of people that take advantage of that and stand in different spots and different corners and get different lines and angles.
And not everybody fully understands the importance of foot position on a mat.
Mm-hmm.
I played a match against a fellow from Ontario in singles, and we played on a very difficult green. And I found the green. He didn't find the green all game. And at the end of the game, he said, I just don't understand. I was following your line all game, and you were making the shot, and I couldn't make the shot. I said the reason was foot position. I was using a different foot position, so even though my aiming point looked to be the same, the line was not the same.
Mm-hmm. That can be a really frustrating thing when you're on a tricky rink to try to find the right line and position on the mat, because when you're struggling, it's really difficult to be trying to move around and try something different until you can find it. Once you find it, everything's okay, but until you find it, it can be quite frustrating. That's a great shot there from John.
I'm not sure that he's shot because of the angle.
Well, Terry's using his fingers, so it must be pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
I had someone ask me once how do you use your fingers? Like, explain it to me. Why do people do that? And I found that very difficult to try to verbally explain to someone how you do it and what you're looking at. Might need to make some sort of a tutorial video on how to do it or something, because it's not easy to explain what you're doing and how you're looking at things.
Well, I guess you're turning your fingers into a ruler,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as you keep them the same distance from your eye and the same relative distance from your body, you should be able to tell which is the shorter distance between the bowls.
For those who don't have the greatest eyesight, I know that one hot commodity this year has been the shot spotter that we have in the office. A little
Right.
piece of, I don't know if it's plexiglass or what it is, but has a bunch of rings on it, so you can just hold that about waist high and look down through it, and you can see if it bowl's touching the ring or not, whether it's closer or not. Makes life a lot easier than trying to point fingers back and forth.
Well, it looks like John could either be up 1 or down 2.
Yep. Very tough to tell. just through the port.
Oh, he drew the short side of the back bowl, though.
Could
So I
be
suspect
enough.
he's got at least one.
They're kicking them in, so not close enough for a measure. I'm wondering if maybe that, yeah.
Did he signal one or two?
Just the one was what the marker there tapped his knee.
Okay.
I like how he does that. So he taps his knee for down because John Bjornson's on the bottom half of the scoreboard, and then arm or head up in the air for Terry. So signaled one down, which is one for John.
4-2 after 3.
Yep. It's confusing when you start the second set because all the numbers are sort of off kilter. Normally it's odd this way and even back home, but then it's backwards when you play the second set because you started at the other end.
Well, and John immediately goes back to a longer jack.
Mm-hmm. I know one of the drills that they have, or they used to have folks on the national team doing, was a bowls test where you'd be playing minimum length and maximum length and minimum length and maximum length, playing with different mat lengths. So whether the mat's at the hog line or the mat's at the tee, and just rotating through those very quickly, so you don't ever play them back to back. So you have to be quick to adjust, and that's a good way to practice. And when you do get that mat, to maybe throw your opponent off if you're constantly switching, so they never actually get a chance to find their groove and settle down. That's a much better bowl there from John. Putting something close.
I suspect that Terry's inside on this one.
Yeah, that's well inside. About the same weight as his last one, too. Might have added a foot, maybe. This looks like it could be another good one here from John.
Mm-hmm.
Replicating his last, so that's 2. Identical bowl as his last, just about. Good caterpillar. Terry's just into the ditch.
I was wondering whether he would was playing a back bowl with a view to smacking the jack on the next one.
I think that might have been what he was trying to do, but just came up a little too heavy. And John is just piling them in here. That's 3 red, but the way they're angled up, I don't see all 3 of them going if he were to throw a drive.
He has a very tight line to the jack, too. He can only play the backhand.
And by golly, he might have done it. Yep.
By Jove, I think
Yep.
he has.
Singular for Terry on his last bowl.
Yep. You don't want to put yourself into that position very often.
No, no, you don't. I've told the story before, but back when they had that rule of choice of mat or jack or mat or hammer, I was playing in the provincial singles back in Ontario, and played a gentleman by the name of Ron Ginoli, and so I took a 4 the first end and took think I took the mat, but for the rest of the game, every end on his last bull, he came in and took shot, and then he'd take the hammer, and last bull, take shot, and took the hammer, and did that the whole game, so I didn't count again. And there's not much I could do about it, because it was always his last bull that came in and got the one. So in hindsight, I probably should have been trying to maybe drive it and take the jack to the ditch just so I could get the hammer back, but I'm much happier now that when you win, you have to take the mat. You don't really have that option.
That, you might want to measure that.
Yeah, John's pacing it out. I think John took 3 paces from the tee. Yeah, and John's calling an umpire.
Thought he might.
Looking around at some of the spectators on the side, I can see the players bundling up, putting coats on. Now that the sun's behind a cloud here, it's downright chilly.
Were the players able to practice yesterday despite the weather?
Yeah, so Robbie and I showed up at 9 in the morning, and he rolled a few bowls for an hour and a half or so, and then I set up the cameras to make sure everything was working, and ran off to the university. And it wasn't until we got back around 11:30, maybe 12, that then the rain really came, and it thundered and lightning and hail. And
Short?
yeah, maybe. Yep. Having a tough time getting the line straight there. Could be close. That looks straight now. So he's putting his foot down, and now Julian's coming down to try to straighten things down at the mat, I guess. Not sure what they're looking for.
I think it must be very close at the far end. She wanted to make sure that the tape was down right up against the front end of the mat.
And short. Must have been close. Matter of millimeters.
You knew it was short, right, Terry? Looks like that's the way it's going to be all game. If whoever controls the jack is going to play short or long. John plays long and Terry plays short.
Yep.
Looks like they both have healthy respect for the ditch.
Looks like it.
she went. Terry drew a toucher.
Beautiful shot there.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a hell of a shot.
Yeah, was it ever?
He rested the shot ball and stayed on the jack.
Mm-hmm.
They've called for a measure.
Mm-hmm.
The umpire involved in the measure will be representing Manitoba in the mixed pairs in Montreal
Mm-hmm.
in a week's time, I think.
Let's see here. It starts the 14th is bull and shoe inspection. So what's today? The 5th, 6th, 5th. So
Just
yeah, I
over
guess
a week.
just a little over a week. Yeah.
Yep. Two to John. 6-3 after 5. I don't know whether they're going to play that long again. That was a
That was
pretty brutal head.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's going to play a lot shorter this time.
Well, not too much shorter. That came back a fair pace. That's only
3 meters short of full length.
Yeah.
Back 2.5 meters. But I think the far one was full length. It was right on the 2-meter mark.
Yeah.
I'm thinking there must be some tricky lines on this rink because they're missing line a number of times more often than you would expect.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I know John's told me this is one of the best rinks here, and it's played really, really well. I know when I was here 2 years ago, it played stellar, and I've heard people practicing on this rink, and they said it was really good. So it could just be that maybe the wind has been playing a drastic effect, or maybe there actually are some tricky lines here. I'm not sure. Great answer there from John.
Yep. Like most bowlers, if they're told it's a measure by the marker, they'll come and have a look. Because the worst thing you can do is not know the situation in the head.
Yep. That's interesting though, because Terry only threw one bowl, so he came down to see what's what after his first bowl. It's not very often does that ever happen.
No.
I don't think that would really affect which shot I'm playing, whether I'm up one or down one here. I'm still probably looking to either rest John, come inside, trail it off.
He doesn't have to change much from his first shot.
Nope.
Weight was perfect. Well, I think he might have changed it. He actually tapped his best bowl out, and now John is definitely lying one. John may have taken Terry's best shot away from him because I think Terry might have been trying to play on to John's shot bowl, leaving him a count of 3.
And I think Terry's inside here again, unless he's looking for the jack. Not quite.
Nope.
That's one thing I really like about playing on outside rinks is that you can just sort of hop off and you're completely off the deck.
Yes.
You can't do that when you're playing in the middle rink.
I don't think John is here, is he?
No, that's coming up well short. Need another good 6 feet on that.
I think you might see Terry take a run at John's shot bowl.
It's definitely worth a few.
It's worth 2 for sure, and 3 maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised if Terry tries to trail it as well, if he can get outside of John's top bowl.
I don't know that he can. I'm not sure that he can go around the outside of the front bowl and reach the jack.
So maybe some weight inside it just to bring the jack back
Maybe.
in. But you could be right, he might be going after John's bowl. I would expect him to be doing more than just a simple draw here either way.
Yes. Looks like he was trying to visualize it from the far end, see what was there.
Mm-hmm. I think he said he's playing white. Yeah. I would have to think he's going after the jack here.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that's a fortuitous result.
What a lucky break.
Very fortuitous result.
Yep.
Using
Missed his shot completely and got the best result he could hope for. 2 times.
So that'll make it 6-5 then.
Oh, we expect another shorter jack.
Terry's bringing the mat halfway up, give or take.
Yep.
Marker completely got to pick the mat up there at the other end, so they're just waiting for him to get it off the rink so Terry can throw a jack to the tee.
I think he must have been so excited about the shot he made that he forgot.
That drifted off a fair bit to the left. I think that might still be okay. Well, the marker moved the boundary peg a little bit.
What time's the next draw?
I believe it's at 5:30.
Okay.
So it's currently 4 minutes to 4 here, so still plenty of time, although some of the games have already finished, as a lot of people are off already. I spoke too soon when I said earlier that the TV rink tended to be one of the first ones off, as we might be one of the last ones off here this round. Good opening bowl there from Terry.
Yes. It's about 3 feet through.
Good response there from John.
Yeah. Angles can certainly play tricks on you, because it looked from here like John is clearly shot bowl, and the marker has indicated it's a measure for shot.
Terry's looking to just be inside John's there, and I'm not sure if he's there. Coming up a bit short. That's a pretty good bowl there. I'm not sure if that changes the measure now or not.
No, I don't know that it does. It certainly, I get the impression, no, he's measuring a bull which I didn't think was in the was a factor.
Yeah, looking off. Looking at the TV here, it looks like Terry's to the left is where the measure would be between. And the two red ones on the right.
Back left or front left?
Front left, I guess.
Okay.
It looks like it could be pretty close to being parallel to the jack, actually. Terry's throwing some weight here.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. And he's just going to wait for the guy's next drink to finish measuring before he fires. Doesn't want it to come into their head. Bit of an etiquette thing to do here. They're finished measuring there now, so kicking them in.
If he wants to be really bold, he'd go for that double kill. No, he's going to play dead gentle.
I thought he was playing a lot more weight than that. I would hardly call
Looks
that
like
weight.
He's outside it.
Yeah, he is outside. That was scarce more than a draw. Do you like to have something wet on your fingers when you bowl? I noticed that every time Terry bowls, he licks his fingers.
I don't lick them. I always have a wet cloth available. A lot of people use a wet chamois. I think it gives you a better feel for the bowl. It's hard to bowl with a dry hand. John's waiting for a gust to die down here.
Yeah, maybe.
Too strong.
Through the board. I'm wondering if he was looking to come in off of his outside bowls there, if he was... Not sure. But they're kicking them in, so it wasn't even a measure. So I'm not sure who that went to. One for John Bjornson from the sounds of things. Up and back for these guys.
Terry put up one finger, but didn't signify whether it was for him or for John. So 2-point spread with 2 to play. That last end had a huge bearing. It was a 3-point swing on one end.
Very, very close. This game could go down to the wire as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a tie break.
But the green certainly has a nice roll to it.
Yeah, hats off to John and all his greenskeeping volunteers for making the greens run so nicely this week. Although this is only day one, I'm sure they'll only get better from here.
Pretty good response from Terry there. As a player, the one thing you do not want to get is bad feedback from the marker. Inaccurate feedback.
Inaccurate feedback, yeah. I say bad feedback might be okay if it's accurate, but inaccurate is when you're in trouble.
I was in a provincial singles championship, and I asked for the count, and the marker gave me a signal that I was up one. So I went to play my shot. It didn't change the head at all. I was 2 down.
Whew.
Needless to say, I was not a happy camper.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh. Looks like Terry's sitting too.
Yeah, so John's having a good look at this here. You definitely don't want to give up two.
Nope.
To tie things up going home. I'd be very tempted to play the ditch hand and try to just rest Terry out. But I could also see John playing the other hand and work on his to bring that short bowl into the count.
Well, I think you could play to draw the inside, or just a heavy draw the inside of the shot bowl, which could leave him lying one, and if he should happen to be inside, he could trail Kitty, and if he trails Kitty, that's bonus for him.
Yeah, that might be what he's going here for here, as he is playing his forehand. Just through the board.
Oh.
Big opportunity here for Terry.
I think Terry can draw for 3, or if he moves John's best bowl, he could have 4.
I was gonna say, depending on where John's back bowl is here, he might be looking to play a little aggressively into John's short bowl there to roll that out.
Yep.
That might be what I'd be doing, because even if you're inside, you're bringing in another one of yours. Just nice controlled weight, nothing too crazy.
Well, I'm predicting we're going to see a short jack next end.
Yeah. We'll see what the outcome of this end is here first beforehand. I don't want to count my chickens before they've hatched. That's a pretty good bowl there. I'm not sure if that's in the count.
No,
Maybe.
May not be.
Maybe not. I'm not sure.
I think he might have taken 2 of them out of the count, both the shooter and the other one. I think he's 2 down.
John's calling for an umpire right away, and then Terry's taken 2 out, so he's line 2 for sure. So that at least tie thing is up going home, if not more.
Looks like it's between the bowl at 1 o'clock and bowls at 9 and 9:30.
That'd be the exact opposite of the time that you just said based off of the camera view right now. So that would be, let's see here. 9 o'clock is the red bowl,
7 o'clock,
give or take, and
2:30 and 3.
You see Emily going around and wedging all the bowls, making sure nothing's going to tip over. With her bag full of wedges, everything's getting a wedge.
Well, a tie in this set is all that Terry needs, and John needs a clean win.
Yep, that's right. That's right. I'm impressed that John quickly went to the umpire, didn't bother trying to measure it himself or anything. Just a quick, well, the umpires are here, we'll let them do it. Not going to waste my time doing it. So I think that red bowl there is...
Yeah, John's got it.
Yeah, so it's just 2 for Terry from the looks of things. Let's see if she goes back and double checks it though. She's saying you can take out that red one, it's not in the count. Or not in the measure, I guess. Furthest one away. So this is actually going to be pretty close. She went back and forth here. I'm not so sure if that is a John's. Maybe. Pointed to the red one.
Yep.
So that's 2 for Terry to tie things up.
Actually ran into something at the majors in Victoria that I had not seen before. After measure after measure after measure, 2 bowls were declared even. They could not choose
Interesting.
a shot bowl.
I've seen that before, but
when it's close to the jack, I've seen it before too.
Okay.
But this was 2.5, 3 feet from the jack.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I saw at the juniors when I was there back at first week of August, a situation happened where 2 guys were playing and one bowl was leaning on top of the jack, which pushed it into another bowl. So the one was almost sort of leaning on top of the jack and wedging it against the other. And the umpires came over and they actually declared a shot out of it. And I thought, there's no way that you can...
you can't have a shot bowl. 2 bowls are touchers.
But they could put a feeler gauge between one of them, I guess. I don't know how, but somehow they came away with it. So, but I thought that was the strangest thing, that the bowl was being propped up because it was pushing the jack against another bowl. So that was a unique situation, I thought.
Yep.
A lot of different levels of thickness in those feeler gauges. I spent quite a time cleaning those last year.
But if you can't see light, or the other thing that you normally do is you put a white object or something below, and if you can't see the white, there is no space. The difficulty with a feeler gauge, it wouldn't be difficult to force the feeler gauge through.
Mm-hmm.
7-7 after 8.
All comes down to this.
It's unlikely to end in a tie.
It is unlikely to end this set in a tie, that's right. But that makes things pretty straightforward here, though. John just needs to count 1 to force a tiebreak, and Terry just needs to count 1 to put this game to bed. So, keeping it simple here. Glad to see prior to this bowl here, there's been no short bowls this end.
No, that's right. I've never played the Nova Scotia greens. I know they've got an artificial there which they use for the majors, and grass green as well.
Yeah, they have quite a few actually. The one at Dartmouth is an artificial, and that runs around 12 seconds or so. There are a few others in the area, though. They have Wanderers is relatively nearby, and then in the surrounding area, that's not necessarily in Halifax, there's a few others as well. Dartmouth is the only one I've ever actually been to or played on, but my guess would be that it's all hovering around 12 seconds or so.
Well, I wonder. It's hard to tell from here whose shot. Can you tell from the camera?
I'm favoring John's, but Terry's standing right in the way here now, so I can't see anything right now. But with one bowl left to come here, even if Terry does make a shot, it still leaves John an opportunity to try to counter it. Terry does have some position at the back, but it's not that tight. It's still kind of a bare jack right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if he plays that ditch hand side to either rest the bowl or grab the jack on his way through.
Sure. John's bowl looks to be almost jack high, is it?
I think it's just a little bit behind, actually. And so I think that John's bowl there with the white spot on it, the toucher is shot, I believe.
Might be poetic justice if John doesn't have to throw his last bowl after Terry's fortuitous result earlier.
He's playing the other hand here, which is interesting. I guess he's trying to play underneath to the bowl or jack, and he has got the jack.
He did.
Beautiful shot.
That could be the winning shot.
Could be. Could be. He's forcing John to have to make this here now, which is a tough spot for John to be in because he doesn't have anything back there. So he's going to have to be either dead on the jack or dead on the bowl and sit.
Right.
Either way, he's going to have to be pretty deadly.
Terry's made some fine shots.
All comes down to this. I wouldn't be surprised if John plays almost the same bowl that Terry just did. Try to come down and just rest that ball.
I don't know that he has anything else. wind seems to have died down. You see,
Yeah.
many of the flags are now hanging rather than waving.
Well, that could make a difference too. Just outside.
Yep.
So that'll be one for Terry.
Yep.
At least, maybe even two, but doesn't really matter because that gives him the set, and that's the win. Thanks for commentating here with me, Bob. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Jake.
That's it for us for today. We'll pick back up tomorrow morning at 9, and hopefully we'll have better internet connection then. So we'll see you then.